All right, welcome to Trackside, and we're going to try a live stream still for our beta of this live streaming here, thanks to Paul at Boosted Films. We're Golden Sand Speedway for ASM Autocross Pursuit Battles. New style of autocross, kind of combining as close to wheel-to-wheel as we're ever going to get with autocross, really. We're going to start each of these cars opposite each other on the course, and each car will race back to its respective start line for a full lap on this continuous course. And that will give us, are you serious? Jesus. And that will give us a winner. So this is, there's another one. Let me try it. That's all right. I'm never gonna mute. I'm gonna talk the whole time. Nope. You just turn it on. Check, check. All the way at the end. Yeah. So this one a little quieter, maybe. So in our first battle, we have Megan Kaler and Aaron Dukes side-to-side battle here in ASM Pursuit, and we've got a cone down already for Aaron Dukes in the RSX. It's going to be a default win to Megan Kaler. Sorry for the microphone issues, but this format, again, a continuous course, race back to your own start line. A cone counts as a DNF, so the cone on Aaron Dukes is going to move him to the loser bracket. We're going to do a 32 battle double elimination style format here. And that will mean you have to be eliminated twice to get knocked out of this bracket. Are they rerunning it? I missed the start of that run. Looks like we might be resetting for a go again. All right, Aaron Dukes in the RSX, Megan Kaler in the FRS. Looks like this is the pinch point for Aaron Dukes' side of the course. Megan Kaler already coming back to that start-finish line, but it looks like a slight advantage to Dukes. Kaler through the slow three-cone slalom, and Dukes is definitely ahead this time through, but now Kaler gets the quicker portion of the course into the three-cone slalom for Dukes. It's head-to-head. These were the closest qualifiers, but Vision takes it for Aaron Duke. Aaron Dukes will take the win that time through. Your 8th seed moves on. Megan Kaler will move to the losers bracket for one more chance.
Time, which makes it a DNF.
So that will move us on to Braden Miller and Nick Murphy. Braden Miller and Nick Murphy. Braden in the silver S2000, Nick Murphy in an 8th gen Civic Si. Braden was your 5th qualifier through all of our qualifying runs. These drivers received 3 runs earlier in the day and were seeded into this essentially 14-car bracket. There's 16 positions, so our top 2 qualifiers, Andy Smedegard and Kevin Romanesco, will get byes in this first round. But again, Miller 5th, Nick Murphy was 12th, so the advantage theoretically goes to the S2000 driver. Doing a sighting lap of this brand new course. Some familiar elements some familiar elements from our earlier course, but a brand new route. And again, a continuous course where they will battle back to their own start line. With one battle in the books, it looks like the driver starting on the back straight starts to look like they're getting ahead until that 3-cone slalom that gets them slowed up right before the halfway point of the course. Tom Hilly on the start lights. We are blinking red, yellow, and green. They are go. Braden Miller gets a good launch. A little slow on the start for the Civic. Dueling VTEC noises ripped to life. Here comes Braden into that 3-cone slalom that really slows him down. The driver across the back straight, Murphy's going to get a really good run. Starts to look like he's getting ahead until he gets to that 3-cone slalom. Miller the first to the kink on Golden Sands turns 1 and 2. Miller with the advantage in the seating and Miller with the win on the course. He will advance to the second round of the winner's bracket, and that means we will see Aaron Dukes and Nick Murphy. Aaron Dukes and Nick Murphy will be our first. Sorry, I think we're ruling the cone. Maybe I'll get confirmation here. We're doing 2 battles per round? So moving into our second battle for Miller and Nick Murphy. Miller with the win in round 1. Looks to be visibly ahead back to his own start line at the front straight of Golden Sands across the line, and that will be 2 wins for Braden Miller, which will keep him in the winner's bracket. And that means that Nick Murphy will go on to battle Aaron Dukes. This is Tom. I think I misunderstood. We're doing basically best 2 out of 3 in each round?
No, only 2 runs.
So where does the loser's bracket go?
So the loser, maybe I misunderstood your question. The loser of all of these runs goes to the loser bracket.
If they each win 1, they 1 more time?
So there's 2 runs. This is like Formula Drift style. There's a chance there's a 1 more time if it's a tie, but otherwise the winner moves on. Loser goes to loser bracket.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Okay, got it.
Sorry, I was trying to do 2 things at once.
That's good.
This is very hard to film.
Is it? Yeah, I figured this would be tough. All right, moving on to our third battle. This is potentially one of our home wrecker battles here. We've got Jake and Jade Rusinski, husband and wife. Jade in the GR Corolla, Jake in the MX-5. Jake was feeling pretty confident about this one. The data goes his way, 4th qualifier in our qualifying rounds. Jade, 13th qualifier. But that all-wheel drive Corolla may be able to get off the line a little bit quicker than the MX-5. Definitely more modified for autocross here as we start battle number 1. Definitely an advantage visibly for the Corolla to get moving, but then has to check up immediately for the big kink in the middle of 1 and 2. Jake already back to our 3-cone slalom. Jade looks to be slightly ahead at this point, but we've seen that be common for the driver that starts on the start-finish straight. Jake now into the kink. Looks like he's taking it pretty careful on the cones. Jade is now into the 3-cone slalom, but Jake Rusinski is going to take the first battle here. They will come around to reset for a second battle. And if we do happen to have a tie, we'll see a 1 more time battle come back for this round, but advantage is to Jake in the MX-5, Jade in the Corolla. Let's see if she can take one back in this third battle of our first bracket. Yellow lights on and we're green. Launch for the Corolla. Looks a little better for the MX-5 this time though. He got a good launch with no axle hop. Around the high side for Jade in NASCAR, is it NASCAR or just Golden Sands, 3 and 4. Into the 3-cone slalom, Jake visibly ahead, a big head of steam through the back straight into the final corners for him. Jade still navigating the middle of turns 1 and 2. Jake is back well ahead and we'll move on to the second round of the winner's bracket. Jade will face off one of these next drivers in the loser's bracket. The next battle on deck, Tony Kavadik, your 3rd place qualifier in the Corvette versus Nick Lemerond in the Civic Type R. Super different cars, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is Nick's first autocross ever, and was driving really well. We had 3 hours of practice and then 3 runs for qualifying, and that was able to give us these seeds. But 3 hours of practice, that's not very common for autocross. You may see the course 5, 6, 7 times maximum at most smaller events like this, but we gave 3 hours of open course, which meant even for his first event ever, Nick is well more experienced than a lot of autocrossers who do their first full season. Tony Kavadik, on the other hand, is a super experienced driver, very nicely prepped Corvette, should pretty easily take this one as he's facing off against Nick in the basically the bottom qualifier position. Nick will get staged on the back straight. Tony coming around in the mean-looking Corvette onto the front straight. Lines are up nice and high, getting a good angle on that first corner into Golden Sand Speedway number 1. Nick on the back straight looking for yellows, and we're green. Good launch for the Civic, but obviously the horsepower of the Corvette is going to take the advantage right away over the high side for Kovacic, and now into the 3-cone slalom for Nick in the Civic Type R. Tony well ahead at this point, as we expected, but looks like Nick, a little hesitation through the midpoint of the course, a little bit of a confusing format for your first autocross, I'll give him that. Kovacic looks a little clunky as well, though. He's going to get back first easily, but he just learned something about the course that I think he will put to good use in the next round. Now these drivers will continue around into their next battle. Best 2 out of 3, or first one to win 2, will advance into the second round. All right, second battle in, this is round 5. Kovacic versus Lemerond. We are green. A little bit of a misshift for the Civic Type R. Big hesitation coming into the first corner. This course, even though it's the same in both routes, is going to feel very different depending on where you start. Kovacic a lot smoother through the 3-cone slalom, gets on the loud pedal into NASCAR 1. Speedway 1, I'll say, and then the Civic navigating the high side of Speedway 3 and 4. Kovacic is back first, but honestly, the Civic Type R put up a better fight that time through across the lights. Kovacic's going to advance into the second round against Jake Rusinski, and Jade Rusinski in a hot hatch battle will go up against Nick Lemerond in the Civic Type R. Next battle is battle number 6. Mike Vita is your 6th seed. Dan Simmons in the FRS is your 11th seed. As far as I can tell, this is basically a stock FRS on some tires, some nicer tires, versus another one of our super experienced drivers, Mike Vita, in the all-wheel drive Subaru. Now what's interesting, we qualify on a course with a rolling start that doesn't necessarily incentivize launches, but this format does. And that all-wheel drive Subaru may come alive a little bit more. Again, only the 6th seed in competition through qualifying, but the all-wheel drive will definitely help more in this format than it did before. So we'll see what Mike Vita can pull out this time. We'll stage on the back straight for his first look at this course while we wait for Dan Simmons to come around to the start-finish line. It's a boxer battle for round number 6. Red lights are on, yellow, and we're green. All-wheel drive launch, Mike probably taking it easier to start with. Don't want to hurt the car too early, but big boost launch into the first corner for Mike Vita, already into the 3-cone slalom, while Dan Simmons is navigating the midway through his course. Vita visibly ahead already, and typically that would mean he will continue to pull ahead through the easier second portion of this course for Vita, while Simmons is going to enter the more difficult portion. Vita already done. Simmons still navigating that final slalom, and will cross the line second in this first round. Moving on to the second battle. First one to win 2 will move on. Again, in this version of autocross, in this pursuit format, the first person to hit a cone is immediately the loser of that round, because inherently the second car has to come through that zone. Vita getting the Subaru up on boost just a little wheel spin, and then launches into Speedway 1. Simmons kind of doesn't stand a chance with the lack of power in the FRS there, down into Speedway 4. Vita already across the midway point, almost looking like he may catch Simmons this time through. Simmons clears the halfway point, so he's safe. Vita there navigating the final 3-cone slalom. 1, 2, and 3. Big push across the line, but he will take the win again. Simmons moves on to the first round of our losers consolation bracket. We'll call it a consolation bracket, not a losers bracket. And then Vita will move on to face off one of these drivers. This will be Dana Bazinski, the seventh seed of our bracket, versus Kirsten Miller in her son's, well, I guess it's still kind of hers, S2000. So this is an interesting scenario. There is a possibility that this silver S2000 will have to go against itself, in which case one driver will have to forfeit if, again, they end up in the same bracket on the same battle, a shared car in this case. And Dana, so this means that back to an easier square one than Kirsten Miller. Staged for the first of two battles, red, yellow, and we're green. Dana staged a little deep, or a little shallow that time, so he had a little bit further to go. Much more power swapped into this FRS that's now navigating Speedway 4 into the three-cone slalom. Miller a little behind coming across the midway point, but she is ahead. This is looking pretty good for Kirsten Miller. Theoretically a little bit lower seated, but now she has the slower finish to navigate in the three-cone slalom. Basinski making up time back. Oh, it's our closest call, but Miller takes it. Basinski with the loss, Kirsten Miller with the win. Moving on to our second battle, I foresee our first one more time somehow. If Basinski can find, that looked like less than a half a second of raw time. Doesn't need much, but Miller with the first win, staged for our second battle. Lights are green, a little bit of wheel spin for Dana Basinski. That's a good launch for that car. Then the VTEC comes alive in the F-Series of the S2000, goes around the high side for Miller. Now already approaching the halfway point, Basinski is clearly ahead this time through, and it's looking like it's going to be a difficult deficit to close for Kirsten Miller. She did win our first round, but Basinski is coming back to the line pretty well ahead of Miller. It's going to tighten up right here at the last second, but Basinski takes the win. We are going to see a one more time in this battle. So Basinski, our 7th seed, winning the second battle. Kirsten, our 10th seed, winning the first round. They're going to have to go again, which means we're going to immediately go into our one more time. Basinski back to the back straight, Miller to the front straight. Both of these cars on Bridgestone tires, nice and warm already. Kirsten up on the chip just a little bit, and then a green light, a big bog at the start line for the S2000, not enough torque for that. Basinski, though, gets a good launch. He's got to be fresh and up to speed at this point now through the pinch point into the three-cone slalom. Miller is slightly ahead. This is about what it looked like last time with a big slide for Basinski out of the three-cone slalom. Miller looking more comfortable starting on the front side of this course than the back side, but gets a little behind coming into the three-cone. Basinski's going to get it back at the last second. Yes, I would say Basinski took that by a bumper. We'll see what the judge comes with. And the judge agrees. Basinski with the win on this one more time. So that means if he can win this one more time, he'll be good to go. He looks a little confused on the format. He needs to come back to the start-finish line. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think they're doing Formula Drift style, which would mean like just a straight-up rerun. Basinski loops it back around. Maybe that was some strategy to cool the tires off. I don't know. Commentators are supposed to speculate, right? Lights are red, they are yellow, and we're green on this one more time battle. Basinski with the advantage has won one of two, and he looks to be more comfortable starting on the front straight. Miller, however, last time had a big mistake and fell behind. Basinski's slightly ahead, but Miller's much closer this time. She works her way into this really tricky braking zone. And Basinski is looking like it's going to be his, but gets behind into the three-cone as well. A tricky pinch point, and it's Miller. I think Miller took that one. I believe we're going to go to another more time. I'm going to dub that. Man, these guys are going to be tired after this first round. Miller knows she took the win. These guys seated very, very closely, guys and gals seated very closely, 7th and 10th. And so far we are on two more times. Second more time? I don't even know. Red lights on, Miller ready to dump the clutch. Big wheel spin at the line, but still bogs slightly. That S2000, honestly, I think is losing most of its time at the start line. Basinski is ahead this time. Both drivers getting thrown off at points throughout this course, but they're becoming more and more familiar. The mistakes are going to become less and less. That was almost tied across the start-finish line, and it looked like a cone wiggled for Miller, but we are safe. Basinski is looking a little bit ahead, and he is going to take the win. Basinski with a pretty clear margin of victory that time through, so it's so far a copy. It's hard to say if that cone was knocked down or not. If it was, that means that I think that means they think they're eliminated, but I think we're going to run one more to give them the chance to get a clean run. So I think that would have been a cone on Miller, which means Dana just needs a clean run to take the win this time.
All right, I guess first one to hit a cone loses, so Dana is the winner.
Oh, correction. That's actually going to be what we thought. The first person to hit a cone is immediately the loser of the round. It's a DNF and an elimination. So all that for naught. We're going to end that one on a cone. Miller to the losers bracket, the consolation bracket. And it's going to be Dana Wyszynski moving on to the second round of the main winners bracket. Kevin Romanesco was our second qualifier. He has a bye round, which means we're moving on to the second round of competition in the winners bracket. Andy Smedegard was your top qualifier by almost 2 seconds, and he will be on his first run right now. He got a bye on that first time through. Headed up against Megan Kaler, who won her first battle against Aaron Dukes. Dukes hitting a cone, but was, I believe, slightly faster in that round. Smedegard getting a little bit of heat in the Yokohama tires on that car. And I believe he will have to do an extra lap past Megan, as he has not seen this course yet, even though he designed it. And Megan has seen it, so a sighting lap for Smedegard. Again, the top qualifier here, he had a bye, and will be now into the next battle in the winners bracket. Are you guys doing more winners first, or are you doing losers again next?
We're going to do one run of the winners bracket, and then we're going to work the losers bracket.
Sweet. All right, we're green on the first battle of round 2. The top 8 winners' cars. Smedegard is clearly ahead across the back straight. Again, your top qualifier by over 2 seconds, nearly 5 seconds deficit back to Kaler, where she qualified as your 9th seed. Smedegard already back in the much faster nitrous-powered S2000. Kaler back to the line second. They will loop around. After this battle, we're moving on to that consolation bracket. So we'll see, I believe, Aaron Dukes and Nick Murphy headed up, if I'm not mistaken, for that first round of the consolation bracket. Kaler is staged, Smedegard is staged. We are red, 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 yellow, and green to the second battle here. Smedegard clearly ahead the first time through, and you can see the power difference in that car. Just pulling ahead before they even break for the first corner. Smedegard back through the 3-cone slalom across the start-finish line with the advantage. Kaler, though, a little bit closer this time, looking to hold her own across the top side of now what is the tightest section of this continuous course. Smedegard back across the line, takes the win. We'll move on to the third round in our winners bracket. Kaler, that is elimination number 1. She will now move down to that consolation bracket. Some question on whether or not there was a cone down. It looks like the crowd saw one thing and the course workers saw the other. We're not sure which it's going to go with. Looks like we're ruling the corner workers have the power here, which I believe is how it should be going. So Smedegard will take the win after a late scare. It was a cone potential on Smedegard, but the course looks clean. Corner workers don't see anything having moved, with that cone being an instant loss, even in the first of 2 battles. All right, our next round, it looks like we're gonna do one more round of our winners bracket. Braden Miller and Jake Rusinski. Braden Miller, this car has gotten a workout so far with Kirsten taking it so far against Dana. But this is your 5th seed against your 4th seed. It's gonna be a tight battle here. The MX-5 was slightly quicker in qualifying for Jake Rusinski. Braden Miller a little bit slower, but not by much, so this should be a pretty good battle. Weirdly enough, the MX-5 should take the advantage on acceleration, but I think the S2000 has a little bit more oomph up top. Braden on the back straight, Jake on the front straight. Yellow lights out, we are green. A good launch for both drivers. Looks like Braden not quite as much bog as we saw from that car a little bit earlier. Dead nuts even so far as they navigate speedways 2 and 4 respectively. Braden gets a little wiggle coming into the 3-cone slalom, but he is visibly behind Rosinski with the advantage big time coming into the second portion of the lap. Through the last offset into the 3-cone slalom and will take the win in the first of 2 battles. Jake Rosinski in the MX-5 takes the win. Braden Miller just a couple car lengths behind, but it was pretty close. It looks like the drivers starting on the front straight gain an advantage early and lose it right at the last minute through that 3-cone slalom that slows you down, whereas that back straight is very fast, almost completely wide open from the exit of Speedway 2 into Speedway 3. Lights are out, we're green, big bog at the start line this time for the S2000. The MX-5 is away clean. Both drivers on the binders getting through the first corner of their courses. Jake Rosinski into the 3-cone slalom. Braden Miller across the midway point. He has the advantage. This could be another one more time for this silver S2000. That car is getting everything it's got worked out of it today. Rosinski, though, maybe going to be able to claw it back at the last minute. Oh man, Braden Miller takes it just by a half a car width or less. Rosinski was not able to claw it back. I didn't see if there was a mistake maybe on that run, and I'm surprised even with the bog at the line, Miller is going to be able to take the win. One more time, we're going to rerun this one. Rosinski, your 4th seed. Miller, your 5th seed. Yellow lights on, yellow lights off. We are green. Another good launch. Looked like a little bit better hole shot for the MX-5 driver that time. Rosinski reacting quicker to the green light by my eyes. Miller now into the high side, through the offset into the 3-cone slalom, and Rosinski well ahead. Visibly further ahead by a couple of car lengths than he was last time through. So I think the MX-5 driver is going to be able to take this one if he can stay clean through the 3-cone into the finish. And sure enough, the MX-5 takes the win. The S2000 with the disadvantage going into the second battle of this one more time. All right, Miller staged. Rosinski rolling up slow. Comes to a stop. Red lights on. There's no consistent. Really? This one too? I lost power on that one too. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Test, whoa. Test, test. Test, test. Like that? Whoa. This is the one that cuts out. We'll try it again. All right, looks like Jake was scored the win. Let's see, it cuts out. That time through. Check, check. How are they both dead? This fucking sucks. Oops, we're live on YouTube, aren't we? Hi, YouTube.
Well, if you keep commentating,
If I keep, I'll just keep doing it?
I'll have it on YouTube. So people watch
Okay.
it later.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what else to do when you're live.
All right, yeah, I know. Fighting the PA microphone here. This is going to be so weird. Now I'm just talking to myself. No PA anymore. But Jake Rosinski taking the win just by a bumper over Braden Miller. We're moving on to our next. Think about it. And Mike Vita, look at the STI launch into this course. Then has to woe it up really quickly. A little bit clunky through the 3-cone slalom. Kavadik ends up coming across the line first. But this is looking pretty promising for Vita, as Kavadik now has to go into the tighter section of this course. Can he get the boost spooled up? Vita with the win. The all-wheel drive launch takes him to victory over our 3rd place qualifier, Tony Kavadik from 3rd, Mike Vita from 6th. But it's Vita in the STI that's going to take the win. Moving on to the second battle.
Battery at the bottom.
I just don't know why this one would be skipping it so much. All right, it's Kavadik and Vita, who not the best launch for Vita that time. A little bit of a bog for the turbo on that STI. Kavadik looking nicely ahead this time through. As I say that, Vita claws it back really quickly. This might be a big upset. sixth seed taking on the third seed, and just as we suspected, the all-wheel drive of that Subaru coming to live. Oh, and Vita takes it. He's going to move on in the brackets. Kavadik is eliminated to the consolation bracket by less than a car width. And that, I'm hearing, is the first pursuit format loss for Tony Kavadik. This is our third event of this style, and that's a big upset. Well done from Mike Vita in the STI, moving on in the winner's bracket. Here's our final battle of that winner's bracket. Dana Baczynski in the red FRS versus our bye round, Kevin Romanesco. He was our second qualifier and had a bye in round number 1, so here he is for the first time on course in the Toyota Supra, taking his sighting lap. Baczynski, already having seen the course, takes his place on the back straight. Now Romanesco, this is I believe a Supra automatic, which means it'll do the shifting for him, good for launches. A lot of power in that car, and it's on some Bridgestone sticky tires, so I believe this will be a very difficult challenge for Dana Baczynski to overcome, but we've seen upsets just happen. Kevin Romanesco a little bit cold. Dana had a bunch of rounds to get familiar with this course, so we will take our last battle of the second round in our winner's bracket before we see that consolation bracket come out. Yellow lights are on, green. A good clean launch. Again, that automatic Supra already in third gear before the first brake point. Wraps it nicely through the first bit of Speedway 1 and 2. Baczynski is now into the slalom. Very familiar with this course, but Romanesco is visibly very far ahead already, as we expected in that Supra. Wraps the top side of Speedway 3 and 4 nicely into the 3-cone slalom. And as long as he stays clean, it's an easy win for Kevin Romanesco in the Toyota Supra. In the first battle, second battle coming around, both red cars making their way to their second start-finish line. As we have slight raindrops from the sky kind of coming and going, nothing yet to wet the course, but it is still threatening rain at any moment, which would tip the scales even nicely further for Mike Vita in that all-wheel drive STI. But it's Baczynski versus Romanesco on course. Yellow lights off, green lights on. A little bit of tire spin for the BRZ, but it's a clean, clear launch, grabbing third gear again for the Supra before the first brake point. Baczynski holding his own nicely this time. Romanesco a little thrown off by that 3-cone slalom, and Baczynski with the advantage. Could we see another one of those upsets? That red BRZ just loves its one more times. A big slide, gathers it up, and a DNF for Baczynski. He was probably going to hold his own, but had to bail out after the rear end stepped out. Kevin Romanesco will take the win and move on to the third round of that winner's bracket. And that's going to move us on to our consolation bracket. That should be first round out, Aaron Dukes versus Nick Murphy, both getting knocked out in that first round. And stuffy up here. I don't know if there's allergies up here or not. This stand has allergies.
All right, just a quick 5-minute intermission here. We're figuring some stuff out. Roger that. Is there an extra radio we can tip on the corner worker?
So the good news is, we actually did.
Do they need one?
Yeah, it's still choppy, but.
It'd be kind of nice if one of them had a radio.
It didn't cut out. We did like 30 minutes.
Is it capturing smooth?
Yeah, it is.
So it records smooth but streams choppy?
Yeah.
Interesting. So a quick 5-minute pause just for a reshuffle. Andy, if you didn't notice, there's it has a run order on that bracket.
Can you send me that bracket with it
If it's useful.
updated by chance?
I'm not updating anything.
I think so. Eric's on it.
I thought you were doing it yourself.
I can't. It's a screenshot. You have the editable version though. I can help you fill it in. The thing I sent you should be fillable. It seems like if I stand in one specific spot, this microphone works. I don't know if I have to lean further forward.
I don't know if we should have switched spots or you should be close to the thing is, over there.
Right, so I'm trying to lean forward and not move, and it seems to be better. This microphone's way louder for sure. Probably ruins the stream audio a little bit more. The sound is good? Cool. I think it sounds okay.
Audio's not choppy, but video is.
I don't always love the sound of my voice, but whatever.
Yeah.